Hi class, Miss Forbes here. We're going to be working on reading your first reading for English 2B. It's called The Necklace. I'm going to share my screen right now. So where you can find this is in the first English 2B packet, Unit 1. This is Assignment 2 that we're going to be on. And Assignment 2 starts with a survey, and then on the next page, you will see background information about Guy de Maupassant and the necklace. This story was written in France, and Guy de Maupassant is French, and it was written at a time where there was very strict social classes. So you had the peasantry, which was the lowly farmer, the bureaucracy, which were government officials, the bourgeoisie, which was the middle class, and then aristocrats, which were the nobility. And basically, people were part of their class and they were born into that class. And there was really no way to get out of the class you were born into. For the main character of the necklace, her name was Mademoiselle. She was born into the bureaucracy class and she married a government official. However, she was very beautiful and she felt like she deserved better. She wished more than anything to be part of the nobility, part of the aristocrat class, but there really wasn't anything that she could do to become part of that class. She could just kind of, for one day dress up and act as if she were aristocrat, but she never really could become that. She could just wish it and act like it. So this is her story. It is a fictional story, so it is, not a real true story, but we're going to learn about what happens to Mademoiselle. I would recommend you reading this, just pausing the video and reading this before you listen to the whole story. You also want to make sure you have a pen with you and your book. We are on page 372, and we're going to start by reading about the author. If I underline something or circle something or write something in my book, I expect you to copy that exact thing. Now, of course, if there's anything you find that I missed that you want to circle, underline, or make note of, please do so. But this is just to help you if you're struggling with the annotations. A master of the short story, Guy de Maupassant, born in 1850 and died in 1893, wrote tales that are both realistic and pessimistic, and that frequently offer unforeseen endings. Following military service, Maupassant settled in Paris and joined a circle of writers led by novelist Émile Zola. With Zola's encouragement, Maupassant published his first short story, Ball of Fat, which earned him immediate fame and freed him to write full-time. The Necklace is his most widely read work. So it was originally written in French, but it was translated into English and many different languages. And we're going to read, of course, the English translation. You do want to take a moment to rank these vocabulary words. The word you give a 1 to is the word that is the most familiar to you. The second most familiar word gets a 2, and then a 3, 4, 5, and then the word that is least familiar to you would get a 6. So the words are refinement, suppleness, exquisite, gallantries, resplendent, and homage, or you could also say homage. The Necklace on page 373 by Guy, it's actually Guy, I think, in French, Guy de Maupassant. I really don't do well speaking French, so I'm going to do my best, but please don't take the way I say it as the proper way to speak French, because yeah, I'm not that great at it. This was translated by Andrew McAndrew. In the late 19th century, a type of literature known as realism emerged as a reaction to the idealism and optimism of romantic literature. Realism sought to describe life as it is, without ornament or glorification. So let's just circle that right now, just so you understand that realism, I mean, the title kind of says it all. It describes life as it is. It's like real life. The Necklace, an example of realist fiction, tells the story of an average woman who pays a significant price to experience a glamorous evening. As in all realist fiction, there's no fairy tale ending. And this story is actually known for its kind of twist, its surprise ending. She was one of those pretty, charming young women who are born as if by an air of fate into a petty official's family. She had no dowry, no hopes, not the slightest chance of being appreciated, understood, loved, and married by a rich and distinguished man. So she slipped into the marriage with a minor civil servant at the Ministry of Education. So she was one of those pretty, charming young women who are born as if by air of fate into a petty official's family. Remember, at this time, a woman's only real choices or opportunities in life were to be born into a good family and to be married into a good family. That was it. Really, they could not work their way into something better. They couldn't go get an education. It was just basically you're born and you get married and you have babies, and that's your life as a woman at that time. So she had no dowry. So what that means is like a lot of money that is given to a wealthy family to kind of take this bride on and make this bride part of the family. So you have to be wealthy to marry into a wealthy family because your family needs to be able to basically pay to have someone marry you. That's what a dowry is. Sounds horrible, huh? Um, so this is also an important quote. So this first paragraph has two important quotes. She wanted to be married by a rich man. So she wanted to be married by, or maybe I should say married to a rich man. Unable to afford jewelry, she dressed simply, but she was as wretched as a declassee, for women have neither caste nor breeding. In them, beauty, grace, and charm replace pride of birth. Innate refinement, instinctive elegance, and suppleness of wit give them their place on the only scale that counts. And these qualities make humble girls the peers of the grandest ladies. So basically, what it's saying is that she was born into a low class. So she didn't have the money she needed to be of the wealthy class, but she seemed to have the beauty, grace, and charm that was needed to be part of the upper classes. So she felt like she had elegance, beauty, grace, and charm, refinement, and wit, suppleness of wit. So she was like, smart. She could adapt to different situations, even though she was not wealthy. So she believed because she carried all of those attributes that she really should have been married to a wealthy family. She suffered constantly, feeling that all the attributes of a gracious life, every luxury, should rightly have been hers. The poverty of her rooms, the shabby walls, the worn furniture, the ugly upholstery caused her pain. So I didn't want to turn that all the way because I want you to underline this sentence. She suffered constantly, feeling that all the attributes of a gracious life, every luxury, should rightly have been hers. So she, again, wanted to be rich. She felt like she deserved it. And all the ugly stuff that was around her, all the average things, that was around her caused her great pain, she said. All these things that another woman of her class would not have even noticed tormented her and made her angry. The very sight of the little Breton girl who cleaned for her awoke rueful thoughts and the wildest dreams in her mind. She dreamed of thick carpeted reception rooms with oriental hangings, lighted by tall bronze torches, and with two huge footmen in knee breeches, made drowsy by the heat from the stove, asleep in the wide armchairs. She dreamed of great drawing rooms, upholstered in old silks, with fragile little tables holding priceless knickknacks, and of enchanting little sitting rooms, redolent of perfume, designed for tea-time chats with intimate friends, famous, sought-after men whose attentions all women longed for. So she had a servant, but she still thought that she did not have enough. She wanted to be like the very rich people who have all of these kind of like unnecessary tapestry and footmen are actually like servants. Um, and she wanted to have drawing rooms and a huge mansion full of knickknacks and beautiful paintings, and she could just sit down and chat with her friends. And it's like, imagine if you ever dreamed to be famous or rich. That's how she felt, but she felt like she deserved to be famous or rich. When she sat down to dinner at her round table with its 3-day-old cloth and watched her husband opposite her lift the lid of the soup tureen and exclaim it delighted, "Oh, good homemade beef stew. There's nothing better." She would visualize elegant dinners with steaming silver amid tapestried walls, peopled by knights and ladies and exotic birds in a fairy forest. She would think of exquisite dishes served on gorgeous china and of gallantries whispered and received with sphinx-like smiles while eating the pink flesh of trout or wings of grouse. She had no proper wardrobe, no jewels, nothing. And those were the only things that she loved. She felt she was made for them. She would have so loved to charm, to be envied, to be admired, and sought after. This paragraph, paragraph 5, is a very important paragraph because it tells you what is driving Mademoiselle's actions. Um, she felt like she had nothing that mattered most to her. What mattered most to her was not having a husband that seemed like a good man, not having a servant to help her with her household chores, but instead, what was the most important thing to her was wardrobe, which is clothes, jewels, which is jewelry, and having people envy her. So basically, she wanted to be like rich and famous. That was what she wanted most in life. Like she wanted, imagine wanting like, you know, a Bentley and a huge house in the Hollywood Hills. That's what she wanted. Paragraph 6. She had a rich friend, a schoolmate from the convent she had attended. That's like a school run by nuns. But she didn't like to visit her because it always made her so miserable when she got home again. She would weep for whole days at a time from sorrow, regret, despair, and distress. So when she had to visit her rich friend, she would cry for days at a time because she was so sad that she couldn't be rich as well when she visited her rich friend. Then one evening, her husband arrived home looking triumphant and waving a large envelope. "Here," he said, "there's something for you." She tore it open eagerly and took out a printed card which said, "The Minister of Education and Madame Georges Ramponneau request the pleasure of the company of Monsieur and Madame Loisel at an evening reception at the Ministry on Monday, January 18th. Instead of being delighted as her husband had hoped, she tossed the invitation on the table and muttered, annoyed, What do you expect me to do with that?
Why, I thought you'd be pleased, dear. You never go out, and this would be an occasion for you, a great one. I had a lot of trouble getting it. Everyone wants an invitation. They're in great demand, and there are only a few reserved for employees. All the officials will be there.
She looked at him, irritated, and said impatiently, I haven't a thing to wear. How could I go? It had never even occurred to him. He stammered,
But but what about the dress you wear to the theater? I think it's lovely.
He fell silent, amazed and bewildered to see that his wife was crying. Two big tears escaped from the corners of her eyes and rolled slowly down the corners of her mouth. He mumbled,
What is it? What is it?
but with great effort she had overcome but with great effort she had overcome her misery, and now she answered him calmly, wiping her tear-damp cheeks. It's nothing. It's just that I have no evening dress, and so I can't go to the party. Give the invitation to one of your colleagues whose wife will be better dressed than I would be. He was overcome. He said, Listen, Maltide, how much would an evening dress cost? A suitable one that you could wear again on other occasions. Something very simple. She thought for several seconds, making her calculations and at the same time estimating how much she could ask for without eliciting an immediate refusal and an exclamation of horror from this economical government clerk. At last, not too sure of herself, she said, It's hard to say exactly, but I think I could manage with 400 francs. Francs is like dollars, but French dollars. He went a little pale, for that was exactly the amount he had put aside to buy a rifle so that he could go hunting the following summer near Nanterre with a few friends who went shooting larks around there on Sundays. However, he said, Well, all right then. I'll give you 400 francs, but try to get something really nice. As the day of the ball drew closer, Mademoiselle seemed depressed, disturbed, worried, despite the fact that her dress was ready. One evening, her husband said, What's the matter? You've really been very strange these last few days. And she answered, I hate not having a single jewel, not one stone to wear. I shall look so dowdy. I'd almost rather not go to the party. He suggested, You can wear some fresh flowers. It's considered very chic at this time of year. For 10 francs, you can get 2 or 3 beautiful roses. That didn't satisfy her at all. No, there's nothing more humiliating than looking poverty stricken among a lot of rich women. Okay, let's underline that because again, you can see her thoughts there and what she believed was the most important thing, that she wanted to look rich. Even if she wasn't rich, she at least wanted to look rich. Then her husband exclaimed, Wait, you silly thing. Why don't you go and see Madame Forrester and ask her to lend you some jewelry? You certainly know her well enough for that, don't you think? She let out a joyful cry. You're right. It never occurred to me. The next day she went to see her friend and related her tale of woe. Madame Forrester went to her mirrored wardrobe, took out a big jewel case, brought it to Mademoiselle, opened it, and said, Take your pick, my dear. Her eyes wandered from some bracelets to a pearl necklace, then to a gold Venetian cross set with stones, of very fine workmanship. She tried on the jewelry before the mirror, hesitating, unable to bring herself to take them off, to give them back, and she kept asking, Do you have anything else by chance? Why, yes, here, look for yourself. I don't know which ones you'll like. All at once, in a box lined with black satin, she came upon a superb diamond necklace, and her heart started beating with overwhelming desire. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. She fastened it around her neck over her high necked dress and stood there gazing at herself ecstatically. I'm going to underline this line. So She went to her rich friend's house, Madame Forrester, and she asked her friend, "Do you have any jewelry that I could borrow to wear to this fancy party?" And Madame Forrester showed her some nice jewelry, but that wasn't nice enough for Mademoiselle. Mademoiselle was looking for something that looked the most expensive that she could find. And so she found this diamond necklace that looked very expensive. Hesitantly, filled with terrible anguish, she asked, "Could you lend me this one? Just this one and nothing else?" "Yes, of course." She threw her arms around her friend's neck, kissed her ardently, and fled with her treasure. The day of the party arrived. Mademoiselle was a great success. She was the prettiest woman there, resplendent, graceful, beaming, and deliriously happy. All the men looked at her, asked who she was, tried to get themselves introduced to her. All the minister's aides wanted to waltz with her. The minister himself noticed her. So the minister is kind of like a mayor of the city. So Mademoiselle's dreams came true. So her dreams came true. She was envied. So she wanted people to envy her and to want to be her, and she wanted to feel rich for one day. She danced, enraptured, carried away, intoxicated with pleasure, forgetting everything in this triumph of her beauty and the glory of her success, floating in a cloud of happiness formed by all this homage, all this admiration, all the desires she had stirred up, by this victory so complete and so sweet to the heart of a woman. When she left the party, it was almost 4 a.m. Her husband had been sleeping since midnight in a small deserted sitting room with 3 other gentlemen whose wives were having a wonderful time. He brought her wraps so that they could leave and put them around her shoulders, the plain wraps from her everyday life whose shabbiness jarred with the elegance of her evening dress. She felt this and wanted to escape quickly so that the other women who were enveloping themselves in their rich furs wouldn't see her. So it's kind of like she's Cinderella leaving, and she's kind of turning back into the maid that she was, and her dress is like falling away. So she has to put on these shabby like overcoat things, and she just feels like, oh well, there goes my elegant beauty that I got to feel for one night, and she's embarrassed. Loisel held her back. "Wait a minute, you could catch cold out there. I'm going to call a cab." But she wouldn't listen to him and went hastily downstairs. Outside in the street, there was no cab to be found. They set out to look for one, calling to the drivers they saw passing in the distance. They walked toward the Seine, which is a river, shivering and miserable. Finally, on the embankment, they found one of those ancient nocturnal broughams, which are only to be seen in Paris at night, as if they were ashamed to show their shabbiness in daylight. It took them to their door in the Rue des Martyrs, and they went sadly upstairs to their apartment. For her, it was all over, and he was thinking that he had to be at the ministry by 10. She took off her wraps before the mirror so that she could see herself in all her glory once more. Then she cried out. The necklace was gone. There was nothing around her neck. Her husband, already half undressed, asked, "What's the matter?" She turned toward him in a frenzy. The necklace, it's gone." He got up, thunderstruck. What did you say? What? Impossible." And they searched the folds of her dress, the folds of her wrap, the pockets, everywhere. They didn't find it. He asked, "Are you sure you still had it when you left the ball?" "Yes, I remember touching it in the hallway of the ministry." "But if you have lost it in the street, we would have heard it fall. It must be in the cab." "Yes, most likely. Do you remember the number?" "No. What about you? Did you notice it?" "No." They looked at each other in utter dejection. Finally, Loisel got dressed again. "I'm going to retrace the whole distance we covered on foot," he said, and see if I can't find it." And he left the house. She remained in her evening dress, too weak to go to bed, sitting crushed on a chair, lifeless and blank. Her husband returned about 7 o'clock. He had found nothing. He went to the police station, to the newspapers to offer a reward, to the offices of the cab companies. In a word, wherever there seemed to be the slightest hope of tracing it. She spent the whole day waiting in a state of utter hopelessness before such an appalling catastrophe. Loisel returned in the evening, his face lined and pale. He had learned nothing. "You must write to your friend," he said, "and tell her that you've broken the clasp of the necklace and that you're getting it mended. That'll give us time to decide what to do." She wrote the letter at his dictation. By the end of the week, they had lost all hope. Loisel, who had aged 5 years, declared, "We'll have to replace the necklace." The next day, they took the case in which it had been kept and went to the jeweler whose name appeared inside it. He looked through his ledgers. "I didn't sell this necklace, madame. I only supplied the case." Then they went from one jeweler to the next, trying to find a necklace like the other, racking their memories, both of them sick with worry and distress. In a fashionable shop near the Palais Royal, they found a diamond necklace, which they decided was exactly like the other. It was worth 40,000 francs. They could have it for 36,000 francs. That's a lot of money, like more than a house cost back then. They asked the jeweler to hold it for them for 3 days, and they stipulated that he should take it back for 34,000 francs if the other necklace was found before the end of February. Loisel possessed 18,000 francs left him by his father. He would borrow the rest. He borrowed, asking 1,000 francs from one man, 500 from another, 100 here, 50 there. He signed promissory notes, borrowed at exorbitant rates, dealt with usurers, that's like loan officers, and the entire race of money lenders. He compromised his whole career, gave his signature even when he wasn't sure he would be able to honor it, and horrified by the anxieties with which his future would be filled, by the black misery about to descend upon him, by the prospect of physical privation and moral suffering, went to get the new necklace, placing on the jeweler's counter 36,000 francs. So he had to get a whole bunch of loans in order to pay for this replacement necklace. And now they were going to have to pay back those loans. So not only do you have to pay for your house, but then you also have to pay this additional money that just goes back to paying off these loans. And you don't just pay the 36,000 francs because loans have interest. So they're going to end up maybe paying about double what they had to pay for that. And just for that one necklace that they don't even get to keep. So really they're paying 36,000 francs to buy nothing. When Madame Loisel went to return the necklace, Madame Forrester said in a faintly waspish tone, "You could have brought it back a little sooner. I might have needed it." She didn't open the case as her friend had feared she might. If she had noticed this substitution, what would she have thought? What would she have said? Mightn't she have taken Madame Loisel for a thief? So Madame Loisel was so afraid to tell her friend that she lost the necklace that she didn't even try to tell her friend. She was afraid her friend might say she was a thief, like she went to go sell the necklace or something. So instead, she just replaced it. And she's probably too prideful to admit that she lost it. Madame Loisel came to know the awful life of the poverty-stricken. However, she resigned herself to it with unexpected fortitude. The crushing debt had to be paid. She would pay it. They dismissed the maid. They moved into an attic under the roof. So Madame Loisel was part of the ministry class, but now she's part of, not ministry class. but now she's part of the poverty class. So she was part of the bureaucracy, sorry. And now she's more like part of the lowly farmer, the peasantry, maybe just a little above that. Um, so she wanted to be part of the highest class, but now she's ended up at the lowest class because they had to work. She had to work and her husband had to work to pay off this debt. So instead of, being happy with the her life as it was, now she ends up living a worse life. She came to know all the heavy household chores, the loathsome work of the kitchen. She washed the dishes, wearing down her pink nails on greasy casseroles and the bottoms of saucepans. She did the laundry, washing shirts in dishcloths, which she hung on a line to dry. She took the garbage down to the street every morning. She carried water upstairs, stopping at every floor to get her breath. Dressed like a working class woman, she went to the fruit store, the grocer, and the butcher with her basket on her arm, bargaining, outraged, contesting each sow of her pitiful funds. Every month, some notes had to be honored and more time requested on others. Her husband worked in the evenings, putting a shopkeeper's ledgers in order, and often at night as well, doing copying at 25 centimes a page. And it went on like that for 10 years. So for 10 years, they had to work so hard to pay off something that bought them nothing. So she did resign herself with unexpected fortitude. That means she worked hard. And let me look up fortitude just to make sure that I have that definition correct. So fortitude means courage in pain. So even though it pained her, she still took on her chores with courage, with fortitude, with resolve to get it done. So we're down here in line 105. After 10 years, they had made good on everything, including the usurious rates in the compound interest. So even the interest. Madame Loisel looked old now. She had become the sort of strong woman, hard and coarse, that one finds in poor families. Disheveled, her skirts askew, with reddened hands, she spoke in a loud voice, slopping water over the floors as she washed them. But sometimes when her husband was at the office, she would sit down by the window and muse over that party long ago when she had been so beautiful, the belle of the ball. So she looked old now. She had become a hard-working woman from like a poor family. How would things have turned out if she hadn't lost that necklace? Who could tell? How strange and fickle life is, how little it takes to make or break you. Then one Sunday, when she was strolling along the Champs-Élysées to forget the week's chores for a while, she suddenly caught sight of a woman taking a child for a walk. It was Madame Forrester, still young, still beautiful, still charming. It was the rich friend who she borrowed the necklace from. Madame Loisel started to tremble. Should she speak to her? Yes, certainly she should. And now that she had paid everything back, why shouldn't she tell her the whole story? She went up to her. Hello, Janine. The other didn't recognize her and was surprised that this plainly dressed woman should speak to her so familiarly. She murmured, but Madame, I'm sure you must be mistaken. No, I'm not. I'm Mathilde Loisel. Her friend gave a little cry. Oh, my poor Mathilde, how you've changed. Yes, I've been through some pretty hard times since I last saw you, and I've had plenty of trouble, and all because of you. Because of me? What do you mean? You remember the diamond necklace you lent me to wear to the party at the ministry? Yes, what about it? Well, I lost it. What are you talking about? You returned it to me. What I gave you was another one just like it, and it took us 10 years to pay for it. You can imagine it wasn't easy for us since we were quite poor. Anyway, I'm glad it's over and done with. Madame Forrester stopped short. You you say you bought a diamond necklace to replace that other one? Yes, you didn't even notice then. They really were exactly alike. And she smiled, full of a proud, simple joy. Madame Forrester, profoundly moved, took Malthide's hands in her own. Oh, my poor Malthide. Mine was false. It was worth 500 francs at the most. So the necklace that they had spent 10 years paying back was actually not real diamonds and only cost 500 francs, which they could have replaced really easily. They wouldn't have had to work their entire life to replace it. So don't forget to answer the comprehension questions here. It is part of your homework. And I'll see you in class.